for Ukrainian people trying to defend their country. And the pandemic still goes on. And recently there's some statistics that the new variant is still causing problems, and there are surges in many communities across the states. How many of you have lost family members or friends during the past 2 years? I'm sure some of you have. I have. It has been difficult with the pandemic, especially towards the beginning, because we were unable to visit in the hospital or in their homes to try to offer comfort. Fortunately, I was able to visit one friend in hospice care. She was in hospice care for about a month, and it seemed like she was getting better. She looked happy. She looked very pale and very weak towards the end, of course, but she was happy to see so many friends coming to see her in the hospice. And many people who have died, their families could not offer funeral services due to the pandemic. Now the Biswing is offering services for 100 people or less. They will increase that number as soon as things get a little better. One memorial service I miss having is the Oak Hill Memorial Day service. I'm not certain, but I think it is one of the very few services where BCA Buddhist temples participate with other religious groups and organizations. I heard that back in 1925, when the Oak Hill Japanese section was a rundown filled with wooden markers. The earliest markers were dated 1906. The Japanese community spruced up the place. And then many years ago, Jim Sakamoto from the Wesley United Methodist Church asked me to represent the Biswing on the committee. He asked me to attend a luncheon meeting with the other members of the committee. They were all in their 80s and 90s. It became very comical because I sat between two almost 90-year-old Eastside men, and they were hard of hearing. So I had to repeat myself many times so they could understand me. Of course, my Japanese was also quite limited. But when I heard the history of this committee, I became very respectful of their dedication and their work. Jim said, now I know why they wanted younger members on the committee. As the years went by, several years ago, I told the story of a living World War II Japanese American Nisei soldier. He was living in Portland, Oregon, and in his 90s. My friend at the Cupertino Northwest YMCA said that he knew someone who was a veteran during World War II and was a member of the 442. And I thought that was strange because he's Hakujin. How could this be? He said one of his nieces married into a Japanese American family and told the story of this World War II veteran. The Nisei veteran was a medic in the 442, and his unit was being bombarded in a very heavy battle with German soldiers. Both sides had heavy casualties, wounded and the dead. The medic was desperate in seeing these men and wanted to do something. And so he did the unthinkable. He took a little stick, put a white cloth on it, and walked into the enemy territory. The Germans could not understand his English, and he could not understand German. What he wanted to say to them was, please take me to your commander. Finally, they understood, and the commander came. And the commander understood what the medic was saying. He was saying that, please, let's give ourselves 2 hours of cease fighting so that both sides could retrieve the dead and wounded. Once the 2 hours are up, the fighting could continue. The heroic actions of this Nisei medic earned him a medal. The medic went on to serve in not only the rest of the World War II, but the Korean conflict, the Vietnam War, and finally retired as a military service. Buddhism is about compassion and our connectedness with everything and everywhere. After the service ended, a middle-aged man approached me and said, "Could I please have the address of that missing medic?" I didn't have the address with me at the time, so I said, "Okay, when I get it, let me have your address and I'll mail it to you." And he said, "Fine." And then he told me why he wanted this medic's address in Portland, Oregon, because his own father served with this medic in the same unit. And he, as a young boy, heard the story about that medic and the ceasefire. So he already knew the story when I told it. Isn't this an amazing coincidence that he will be in that Memorial Day service and hear the same story that he had heard as a young child? The Nisei veteran died a few years later. Many of our soldiers during World War II have all perished by now. Perhaps a few of them are still living, but many of them, of course, were already in their late 90s. Today, this committee is called the Oak Hill Japanese Cemetery Trust Committee and is composed of the following members: Eric Masunaga and Kelly Martinez from the Wesley United Methodist Church, Reverend Byron Ishiwate from the Konko Church, and Bob Idemoto and myself on the Vessel Wing. The Trust Committee invites Boy Scouts, veterans of foreign wars, Oak Hill Memorial Park Management, the Vessel Wing, Mountain View Buddhist Temple, Nichiren Buddhist Temple, the Consul General of Japan, the Honorable Zoe Lofgren, Wesley United Methodist Church, Santa Clara Valley Japanese Christian Church, Seichi no Ie Truth of Life Church, San Jose JCL, Silicon Valley JCL, and Howakai to participate in the service. The good news is that we will resume having an in-person service at the Oak Hill Japanese Section at the Memorial Park. And so you're all invited to attend. It will be on Memorial Day, May 30th at 9 o'clock in the morning. The next time you are there at the Oak Hill Memorial Park, please think about the Issei's who face so many obstacles, including racism, to carry enough to raise the money for the Japanese section of the cemetery and to take care of it. So please place your hands in gasho in gratitude to these Issei pioneers. Jodo Shinshu is a religion of wisdom and compassion. It's a religion about a life of gratitude. Please join me in gasho. Again, this is from Reverend Tamai in his book, Ikinyo. A true religious teaching is one that promotes peace and compassion based on the non-ego attitude of Shinji, the mind of faith. But faith that seeks benefits for the self is an imposter. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. Take care. Thank you for your kind attention. And we will now do the sutra chanting. If you have your book, please open it to the sutra chanting. Juseige. God Sekan Gishi Jodo Shigan Fumanzo Seifujo Shoga Gaomuroko Uigai Seishu Kusai Shobingu Seifujo Shoga Kosojo Manzo Iyorojipo Ichigatsu Shujuki Kenkon Ofugen Ishukai Hoso Koseku Dokupo Jodai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai Gusoku Shutokuhon Gan Esi Jujoman Toku Isangai O Yobutsu Mugechi Tsudatsu Mifusho Gangaku Eri Toshi Sai Shoson Shiganya Koka Daisen Okando Kokusho Tenin Touchin Ryoke Namandabu 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 Kanishikudoku Ryodo Seisai Dombo Daishin Ojo Namandaps, 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 namandaps. Now, if you would join me in the reading of the three treasures. Page 10. Difficult is it to receive a human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha, now we hear it. If we do not cross over to the truth in the present life, in what life shall we cross over? Let us with sincerity and true reverence take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we together with all sane beings awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we together with all sentient beings enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we together with all sentient beings become units in true accord, in harmony with all things. The peerless, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amidas. Namo Amidas. Namo Amidas. This will conclude today's service. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you for those of you in the Hondo and for you at home. Please continue to take care of yourself, and I hope to see many of you in person someday. Bye.
Bye.